Welcome back to YouTube live at E3 with Rooster Teeth. We are joined by Machine Games, Jens Mathias and Jörg Gustafsson. You guys announced Wolfenstein 2. I gotta say that was one of the weirdest trailers I've ever seen, and we want to refresh your memory.
It was like 2 trailers.
Really quick on. Yeah, it was like this was an experience. For sure. So here's a quick refresher on what that trailer was. It's weird and awesome, and there's a lot I need to learn about this. All right, so first question. Will I be able to buy the action figures?
Yeah, that's you can buy BJ Blazkowicz, which the Nazis have coined Terror Billy, because he's like the most wanted terrorist in the world.
What I love about the beginning of that trailer is it completely reminds me of all the 80s like action figure commercials that you would see that include like the posing. There's hands in it. It's messy. It's fun.
But it also serves as a primer too for people who maybe didn't play New Order. It serves as a primer to know that this is an alternate history where the Nazis won World War II and now America is part of their territories.
Exactly.
Right. Which is why it doesn't look exactly the way we would expect.
No, it's all of it is sort of perverted from the Nazi perspective. It's all propaganda pieces, basically.
Yeah, now, does our toy Liesel do fire? Because that's the real question. I need to know if my toy breathes fire.
Yes, the Panzer breathes fire for sure.
But not the toy, though.
No, not the toy.
Unless you do it yourself, you could probably do some sort of...
Well, not the American version of the toy. We don't even get Kinder eggs in the U.S. They're too dangerous, apparently, for American children.
Oh, no, you
we
definitely
can't be
have to do
trusted.
some chemistry at home.
Build your own flamethrower kit.
Yeah.
There was another trailer too you guys had at the Bethesda Land showcase that also showed one of the characters. Were they dropping acid?
Just a little bit.
There's a little bit of a crazy lizard in there. So how is that going to play into the game?
Well, it's so we have these 2 timelines, something we established in the first game. You make a choice early on, and that will lead you into the timelines fork, and one character will be alive in one, and another one will be alive in the other. So that character is a character called Wyatt, and he is in this game embarking on a psychedelic journey.
And so when you are dealing with that sort of, you've already had branching paths, and now you have to account for those and build off of those in an entirely new game. Like that's going to require, a lot of additional work in terms of building the story and making sure everything makes sense. How do you guys tackle that?
Well, it was actually because we started it with the first game. So Jack and me, we were in my office, and we had this idea, and we were like, "Are we really going to do this? Because it's going to be very hard content-wise." But we just thought it was so cool, so we committed to it, and we're sticking with it.
Was there ever any talk about, there are some games that will take that will, you can have these branching paths that are then addressed in a later game, and there are other games that will decide that one of those choices was canon?
Yeah, when they figured out it was too much work.
Right, yeah, exactly.
We are stupid enough to continue.
Yeah.
Did you guys contemplate at any point deciding one of those was canon and the other one wasn't?
Not really. Not really, no. Like it's too core to what we're doing, so
we're just committed from the get-go. I like it. So how will the experience differ depending on what your choice was?
Well, there are some story differences similar to the first game. I mean, it's not like it's a completely different story or anything, but there's significant flavoring. There's also some gameplay stuff.
We have some pretty significant gameplay differences now as well, since we have a unique signature weapon for each character's timeline. So playing through the timeline with the connecting weapon will sure make a different, at least do some. It will be pretty different in the combat scenarios when you use that weapon.
Yeah.
And you spoke about it being a big debate with the development team of whether or not you wanted to go down this road with choices and branching storylines.
No, there was never really any debate. It was just me and Jarek
we decided it.
thinking really hard about it. Like, are we really going to do this?
Sitting quietly going...
But what motivated the choice? Was it more for a player to be immersed while going through the storyline, or was it more for replayability?
No, I mean, for replayability for sure. But also, I mean, when we started discussing it, it was more like you should have a different ending or something like that, to at least to give something new to players for a second playthrough. But then we thought, why not do it for the entire campaign? It's just that provides so much more interest in terms of story and gameplay as well.
Yeah, it's like a different ending for the whole game.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's no, it's really something. It's a lot of logistical problems with it too. Everything from recording the performance capture with different actors and so forth. But and yeah, so it is a significant sort of development investment. But we're really happy we made it. We think it makes the game, it makes the player more able to affect what the game is doing.
Yeah. And you mentioned some of the differences in gameplay depending on which player you end up with, because they've got their signature weapons. Do we have like one that's going to specialize more in in stealth, that kind of thing? Like how? So you'll get a significantly different experience if you play through a second time as the other character, like really approaching the challenges like from a completely different skill set.
In a way, but that depends if you use that weapon or not. But I mean, I'm pretty sure most players want to use it because they are super cool. But one weapon for the Fergus campaign is a weapon called the Laserkraftwerk, and that is battery-driven, more energy. And then for the Wyatt campaign that Jens talked about, Wyatt, then it's more diesel-driven and more towards fire and flames. So it's it's pretty different if you use those signature weapons a lot, and I think players will.
Yeah, if you look in the announced trailer, you can see both of them. Like if you're shooting some explosive stuff, that's the diesel Kraftwerk, and if you're lasering through doors or whatever, that's the Fergus campaign.
So they are not only good in using combat; they're also very good for progression.
Okay, so you may make your progression through a level. Or through an obstacle, you may have to go around it, or you can cut through it depending on which character.
We have a number of abilities that gives the player a lot of freedom to tackle the levels in different ways.
And you're able to play with the setting of the game quite a bit because this is alternate history, and then you're able to go back to a certain point, change one detail, and then really build out an entirely new existence, like a new timeline. You get to play with a lot of that.
Nazis winning the war a detail
one
necessarily.
One tiny little detail. But it's changed the world, and then you build a new future based off this one domino falling differently.
Yeah, and it's wonderful too. I mean, this game is a direct sequel from the first one. This game picks up immediately where the first game left off, and it's been wonderful to make a game, because for us this is our first full proper sequel. So to make a game that really builds upon all of the stuff we established in the first one, we can pay off in this game, and that's very cool. Like our main antagonist for this game, called Frau Engel, or she's a general now, she's been promoted, but her job now is basically just to hunt BJ Blazkowicz or Terror Billy. So that was also in the announced trailer. You could see her sort of flying air fortress type thing, the Ausmerzer, and she will hunt for you throughout the game.
I mean, she's got a cool fortress. I got to give her that. Points for the fortress.
Cool. Yeah. But yeah, so things like that where you can establish a character over a long period of time, and then so when you come to the sequel, there's already sort of an awareness of what kind of unpleasant person this is.
And so with the first game, were there things that you had there, not maybe some, not necessarily loose ends, but things that were hints that were dropped in with the intention specifically of picking them up in this game?
Yeah, we always envisioned it as a trilogy, and so fingers crossed we get to do that.
Wolfenstein 3 confirmed.
And there you go.
No, it's more of I guess it mostly depends on how this one does financially, but if it goes well, then I hope we get to do one more.
But it must have made the choice that you all made to have the players drive the story with the choices that they make. When you're looking ahead to a sequel, that makes that even more complicated.
Yeah,
as you go further, an iteration forward.
Yeah, and it's but it also leads to really cool ideas. I mean, ultimately, it is a very densely narrative single-player experience, and we think of it more as an action-adventure game than a straight shooter. But we love building stuff and dropping hints and then paying them off.
And it covers a lot of geography as well. It starts in Roswell, New Mexico, right? And then
it starts. So in the first game, you capture this nuclear Nazi submarine, the Eva's Hammer, biggest submarine in the world, and that in this game becomes the new Resistance hub. So you're able to use it to get to different locations, and the game actually starts there. So what we have as playable in hands-on is when BJ, he was severely injured at the end of the last game, and he wakes up in the sick bay of the Eva's Hammer, and the first level is like a wheelchair level where you're doing wheelchair combat, which was a cool thing to do. We thought, yeah. Maybe you want to talk more about the hub stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we one of the big things for us for this game is that we have a more of a proper hub this time, which the player returns to, and also that the player can return to after the main campaign is completed. So what we're doing now is that through the hub and a warm-up in the hub, we're allowing players to go back to something we call the districts. So all the locations you've been playing through in the main campaign, you can revisit those locations, and you can replay combat scenarios. You can find missed out collectibles. So it's a big thing for us to be able to fully complete the game 100% within the game, rather than to go back out into the main menu through a chapter browser or something like that. But now you can stay in the game and just continue to play for as long as you want. And that's something that we're really looking forward to see how players like it.
And so that's some of the locations. There's, as you said, Roswell, New Orleans, New York. So these are some of the locations. Or these are the ones that you're talking about right now. At least these are the ones with collectibles in them that you can continue to go back to.
Yeah, and of course you will also be able to go back to complete new side missions and to even find spaces that you couldn't find in the main campaign.
Yeah, that's
so it just it expands the game for us a lot.
That's one thing too, is that throughout the game you're building alliances with other resistance groups. So over time, this submarine base that you have gets more and more populated by resistance people. So
have you ever played You Must Build a Boat? Does the submarine get bigger as you start like adding more people to it?
I don't know if it can get any bigger.
Just like bolt extra bits onto the, you get like an extra room, use a lounge.
No, there are a few things like that, but mostly it's pretty big from the get-go.
Well, I noticed in the trailer too, you also had Klansmen in there as well. Is that just? I mean, I couldn't imagine as unsympathetic an enemy as a Nazi, but you guys got close with the Klansmen. So.
Yeah.
I think that the shot is a very good example of what I'm talking about with the districts, because in the main campaign that's just more of a story moment, and you walk through it quietly. You can see
you're
how
under
the
cover.
US, you're on the cover, so you can see how US looks then under the Nazi oppression. But then when you return to Roswell through the warm-up in the hub, then it's night. It's a lot of Nazi presence, and it's full-out combat there, which is super cool for us.
Okay, and then so as you do as you're collecting things, as you're building these additional like relationships and getting extra stuff, how does spending time on those versus just racing through the campaign does it affect like the difficulty at all? Do these guys help you out later, or is this more of a thing that you want
on the
to
margin,
do?
but it's much more elective to the player. Like we're trying to make the world rich to explore, but we're not forcing that exploration. Like if you want to just play through the main campaign, you can do that for sure.
But of course, there are perks you can gain, there are abilities you can find to unlock and things like that. So you can, of course, your player can progress and become better and better.
Right. So if you want to just get through it, you've got your abilities, you have everything you need to get through the game. But if you decide to spend extra time, then you'll be able to, build out your repertoire, do extra bells and whistles. But you don't have to in order to make it.
Correct.
No, correct.
Okay, so you've talked about just like a couple of these locations so far. Do you have any particular favorites of the different ones between Roswell, New Orleans, New York?
Yeah, we always, when we start a project, we sit and we invite the whole team and we all brainstorm like what would be the coolest possible locations to go to, because we have the general theme of the game. We know the whole thinking is that you liberate America from the Nazi oppression, and then use that as a platform to liberate the rest of the world. But this game is all about that liberation of America, right? So knowing that, we bring everybody in, they pitch their ideas for various levels, and we sort of pick from that those suggestions, the absolute coolest levels that we think would work the best, and that is what we then create the story around.
Okay. Are there any that you would have liked to do but just didn't end up like working out from you couldn't think of like what you would put in that location sort of standpoint?
No.
Not really. I mean, we're always good to stick into our plan.
Yeah.
Because we really don't have bandwidth to do any more anyway.
Right.
But
So we spend a lot of time early on making what we think are good decisions, and then we stick to those decisions. We don't mess around later on.
And it was there ideas where it's like, okay, we'll just put that in the acid trip sequence. That's we'll just save that idea for that.
Well, that one's a bit weird. Let's just it goes over here.
No, I think yeah.
I think it's a great trailer or a showcase at a press conference when Pete Hines comes back out and just goes, I told you. I told you this was going to be bizarre. I don't think that's exactly the words that he used, but it was cool to see Pete Hines have a moment.
I'm actually hoping we get a spin-off starring Liesel at some point. Just saying, maybe like campaign DLC. Just putting that out there, like putting that in your ear, because so far Liesel seems really extra super rad.
We'll take it under advisement.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You heard it here first. Confirmed.
Yeah, I just want to say congrats too, because Bethesda a few years ago, when they had their first ever press conference, was just one of the best press conferences in the history of E3. And so that press conference in particular has such high expectations from the audience. And
Yeah,
you
it's
guys,
the gold standard.
Yeah, and you guys came in this year, and you guys were the tentpole, one of the tentpoles for the Bethesda conference this year. And I know everybody's been talking about Wolfenstein, looking forward to it. So
So you're saying this one was better?
what, the press conference?
Yes.
I think you guys did great.
Thank you.
It's really, I know it is a tough, like you said, a gold standard. It's tough to live up to, but you guys were definitely one of the stars of the conference. I
Thank
came
you.
away from it, everything you guys brought with the Liesel trailer, the action figures, and then the game itself. The sequence in the diner is amazing, and your booth on the floor that I've seen is incredible. You actually built the diner.
Yeah,
Everyone is asking, are there actually milkshakes? This
Yes.
is the big
There are?
question.
yes.
Yes, there
You
are
can go
strawberry
there and
milkshakes
get
in
a
there.
strawberry milkshake.
Get there
after you-
fast.
after you play.
Okay, I'll be right over.
It was funny because because of course we built the diner for the game, so we have the 3D models for it. So
Oh, is this 3D printed?
well, more or less, like they took all of the. No, I'm sure they have CNC machines and whatnot. So I don't know, but they took the measurements and from our actual 3D model and sort of recreated it here.
Was that surreal for you to see?
Yeah, it's amazing.
to
Like
be in the
super
physical
cool,
space.
yeah, because you're sitting there with concept art and you never even think about this will be something other than digital, right? And then you see it come to life in the real world. That's super cool.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have anybody cosplaying. It's a tough franchise to cosplay from.
not if
BJ
you-
Blazkowicz maybe. I actually saw they were selling, or I don't know if it was. It looked like they were selling the jacket, his yellow and black leather jacket. Is that for sale?
Yes, it is. You can,
Really?
You can pre-order it at the Bethesda store at the moment.
Okay.
It's super cool.
Yeah, that's really
Styling.
cool. Yeah.
But to focus on the game for just one more moment, I had a quick question about some of the different elements in addition to. So you touched on this a little bit earlier, which was that a lot of people think of Wolfenstein as a shooter, but you think of it more as an action adventure game
Yeah.
because there's more to it than just shooting stuff.
Right.
And like what some of the elements are that people can expect to spend a lot of time doing in this game.
Well, I mean, we invest really heavily in our story, so it's more along the lines of an Uncharted or Last of Us or a game like that has a lot of significant storytelling, but then we spend a huge amount of time integrating the storytelling and the gameplay. So we really try not to cause a situation where the story and the gameplay are sort of fighting each other. But at this point, we worked together for 19 years, so we're pretty good at how to integrate that stuff.
And also when you are in control, when you are in gameplay, it's all about that through the gun experience. We do focus a lot on the combat and that over-the-top crazy combat, which Wolfenstein is to us. And
Right.
we love.
Well, thank you guys so much. It was an awesome reveal. Super excited about when the first game came out. I think it really wowed a lot of people. It really brought Wolfenstein back into the forefront of people's minds. It was a wonderful game. This one, it looks fantastic so far. Can't wait to play it and also get some milkshakes. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
really good to be able to show and talk about the game. Finally, it's,
Yeah, I imagine it's got it's relief after you've been working on it so long for people to be able to see it finally.
Yeah,
And
we're
it's by far the best work we've done as well. So we
Yeah.
really look forward to hear what people think about it.
Yeah, it feels like for us, it's every game we do, we feel like we're getting better at it. So I think this one will be the best one yet.
Well, given how good the last one is, no pressure, but some pressure. All right, thank you guys so much. We're going to check in with Anthony and Mika, and then we'll be back with more. We're going to be talking about Evil Within 2.